Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Eric Krakowski. I'm the assistant principal at Duchesne Academy in Omaha. And we have been since 2017. We have been composting at school. I think we were the first school in the city of Omaha to have a composting program. Um, and we have found it beneficial on lots and lots of levels. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what composting does for us and what it means in our school. Um, and if at any point, and if you have any kind of questions for me, you can always feel free to reach out to me at Duchesne by phone or email. So we started in 2016. We worked with the Virtus Group to establish, and I know OPS works with Virtus Group and a couple other schools in the area to develop a sustainability program, sustainability goals. We've got lots of goals, but one of them was to become a zero waste school by 2030. So when we started this process with Virtus, and this is February 2016, we did a waste audit where we analyzed about a week's worth of our waste as a school to set a baseline with some data. And at that time, we had recycling in the school, and that's it. And we, at that little snapshot that week in February, we were diverting 14% of our waste away from the landfill. That was stuff that was going strictly to recycling. Of those numbers, we looked and saw the potential for what was organic waste material, and most of it was coming from the lunch program. Like our lunch program prior to composting was largely served on styrofoam trays, plastic cutlery, paper cups, plastic cups, styrofoam cups, and all that stuff was going into trash bags that were going to the dumpster. And then any of you in a school know, if you check out the dumpster at the end of the day, it's full of trash bags, and I would say the vast majority of that's coming out of the lunch program. So Virtus Group had connected us with Hillside Solutions, and Brent's going to talk to you here in a little bit. And we were in conversation with them about beginning the compost program, which we did in August of 2017. Long story short, just going to give you some numbers here. So since we've improved our recycling program, thanks to a grant from Nebraska Environmental Trust, and then adding in the composting, and currently our most recent waste audit was, unfortunately, it was last September. We would have done one in April, but we weren't in school. But our most recent numbers had us at about 77% diversion rate. So quite an improvement over 14%. To call yourself zero waste, the threshold is about 90%. So we're in just a couple of years, we've gotten really close to our goal of being zero waste. And I feel pretty confident that by the time 2030 rolls around, the next 10 years, we'll figure out ways to get there. So, so in addition to the diversion rate improving from 14 to 77%, I could just tell you, talking about those dumpsters with all those trash bags in there, our lunch program has gone to using reusable things as much as possible. So we've got reusable trays that are washed, and metal forks and knives. And if we're not using washable, reusable things, we're using compostable items. And that's the plan here as we head to school during the coronavirus. When our lunches, we're not going to be eating cafeteria, we're going to be in individual classrooms. Our lunch program will all be served on compostable items that can then go to the landfill, or go away from the landfill, go to Hillside Solutions and Soil Dynamics and become soil. But one story I like to tell is just our dumpster story. You know, prior to composting, we had a 4 cubic yard dumpster that was picked up 5 days a week. And I don't have, my data on this is anecdotal, and it's the eyeball test, because I never really did weigh this trash or anything like that. But on an average week, I would say that 4 cubic yard dumpster probably had, on a daily basis, was 3/4 full. So I say about 3 cubic yards of waste in that 4-yard dumpster every day, 5 days a week. So we're looking at 15 to 20 cubic yards of waste a week. When we started working with Hillside and we went to composting, they gave us an 8-yard dumpster. So we have a larger dumpster than we did before, but it's emptied 1 day a week. And I would say on an average week, it's half full. So we've gone from 15 to 20 yards a week that's going to the landfill to maybe I'd say 4 to 6 cubic yards a week that's going to the landfill, which is a significant reduction. And not only how much you send to the landfill, but we don't have that big stinky truck coming 5 days a week, a noisy truck, interrupting classes at 9 o'clock in the morning and beeping and dumping and making all that noise and spewing all its exhaust in the air too. So, and I'd have to say, so there's the waste number things, and for a school community, it's really been a rallying point for us. It's been something it's a point of pride for our students. It's been great. We're a high school, so I've often heard it's challenging to get, it's a little easier to get composting in the elementary schools when you can, like, they listen to teachers' directions. The teachers can really direct them into what to do, what goes where. We're a success story at a high school level, and I think that's just had a lot to do with presenting it and teaching it within the mission of our school to be good caretakers of creation. So we've had overwhelming response for that too. So, and finally, I really think it's just good modeling for students. Climate change is real, and there are real benefits to composting that help reduce methane gas and greenhouse gas emissions, and we're just proud to be a part of that. And every year we hear now from our seniors who are graduating, how much they appreciate what Duchesne has done for them, how much they've learned about this. Some of them are going to go to study environmental science now and want to be environmental engineers or work in fields that have to do with, with protecting our resources. So we've definitely seen a lot of benefits educationally from it too. Our teachers are teaching it in the classroom, and it's just been great for us as a school community. And we were just awarded this past April with a U.S. Department of Education Green Ribbon Schools Award, which we're very proud of and happy to get. And hopefully that'll keep us pushing us in the right direction for the future too.
Awesome, thank you. And Brent, you can screen share now.
Yeah, so just to pick it up from where Eric left off. So what I like to do is not assume everybody kind of knows the basics around composting. So everybody sort of gets the idea that, like, recycling is good. Humans make things, let's reuse those things. So composting is just nature makes things, let's reuse those things too. And the reason why there isn't that sense of urgency to recycle nature's things in the same way we recycle people things is because of this myth right here that I come across a lot, and that I thought before I got into this industry, and that was when our food waste goes to a landfill, it just breaks down safely, doesn't cause any harm. That's actually wrong. So we'll do real quickly. This is how landfills work. So the trash comes down for a day. They put down a layer of filter on top, which packs that in, which is a good idea. But then it creates an anaerobic environment, which means oxygen doesn't get to that food waste to break it down. Turns out that's really incredibly important. So then you think about, like, a head of lettuce, super flimsy and totally innocent. You basically weaponize it when you put it in a landfill because it takes 10 to 25 years to break down. Here's some 20-year-old carrots that were excavated from a landfill. Okay, what's it doing during that time? Anaerobic bacteria is eating away at it, and it's putting off methane gas, right? And so methane gas can be 120 times more potent than CO2 in the first year. And 34% of the methane gas that comes out of America comes from our landfills. This is kind of like a big deal nobody's talking about, or people really realize. Here's another problem with our food waste in the landfill. So watery tomato, imagine you throw that away and it mixes with all the other liquids in a landfill, and it creates a toxic sludge called leachate, which can potentially get into our waterways and do a lot of damage, okay? And also, just the more we fill up our landfills, the sooner we're gonna have to build another one. And that's a really difficult process. Nobody wants to live next to a landfill, so let's keep the ones we got. So the solution, of course, is composting. And while Eric's school, Duchesne, was the first to do that in Omaha, we've since brought on, as of before the pandemic, we're working with 24 schools, touching over 10,000 students. So high schools from Northwest, Marion, middle schools like Alfonso, we have West Side district, like Westgate, Hillside, of course, Duchesne, Nelson and Mandela, a lot of North Omaha schools, Central Park, and so on and so on. So the great thing is that we've kind of figured out all the kinks. Now with the pandemic, there's new kinks to figure out. And so we're engaging our school partners and trying to figure out like, how do we adapt the program going forward when a lot of times lunches are now moving to the classroom and things like that. But under normal circumstances, on average, a school was able to divert 60% of cafeteria waste using our composting program. Reduction in landfill trash bags by 50 to 80% is what we found. Reduction in landfill pickups by 25 to 60%. Depending on how you have your lunch program set up, in some cases, custodians actually had less work. And then there's a great learning process, a learning opportunity that comes with it. So one example here is Bellevue West, working with them. They put together a student group, a 15-page paper analysis on the program and implementation and what things they learned. They did like a school survey ahead of time. They found that 97.4 students said, yeah, they should be recycling. 89.7 said, yes, they should be composting. So this is a thing that people are certainly hungry for. And this is stuff that's available on our hillside.solutions/school page. So you can, there's information on like why composting is important and how it works. Here's a video that Omaha North put together for their students on how composting works. I'll just play that with the audio off so you can see that. So step one is like you pour your milk into a bucket, which a lot of schools are doing. And then you have your landfill items, which are really just your plastic single-use items, your cartons and things like that. And then after that, they're just going to put is the composting portion, which is really probably the new portion of what you already have going on. So, you know, you have your tray, you have your food, your napkin, and you tap your food and napkin into the compost container, and then you stack your tray at the end. And the stacking tray thing, if you're not doing that, is really important because you're instead of, you know, some schools were having, 15 landfill trash bags in a lunch period, we can get them down to like 3 or 4 because they're condensing the volume of their waste. And so now, along with the composting, they can significantly cut down on the amount of landfill pickups that they have, and potentially, see a cost savings there that they can slide on over to the composting portion. So all that information and more is here, including some cool results that have been posted to social media and articles and things like that, including an anecdote that was in a newspaper, the Catholic Herald, where involving Eric's school, where students were literally in a game chanting compost, and I've heard that a couple of times now. So anyways, is anything else you wanted me to cover, Camille, on that?
Camille, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, you're on mute. But otherwise, that's kind of my spiel. Hillside.solutions/schools is the information. You can hit me up at Brent at hillside.solutions for more information. And yeah, there we go.
Perfect. That was great. Mr. Krakowski, really quickly, would you talk a little bit about the grants you guys applied for?
Yeah, so before we had done revamped our recycling program, we just had like old cardboard boxes around the building in different rooms. And, you go into classroom and, this room might have an old, box that copy paper had come in, and this classroom might have a old plastic trash can or whatever. And so when Vertus was working with us, one thing we did, spent half a day with one of them, and we went around the building and checked out what we had going on for recycling. And their advice was, to have successful recycling programs have consistent containers around the building. So no matter what room you're in, or classroom or office space you're in, what the recycling bin looks like, has consistent signage for it, and directions for people, and is easily accessed. So like putting your recycling container right next to the trash can, instead of, we had a lot of spaces like the trash can would be on one end of the room and the recycling would be on the other end of the room because it just fit better there. So you get people to make an easy decision, make the decision as easy as possible for them. So I reached out to the Nebraska State Recycling Association. I think it's NSRA or NRSA. I think they've since changed their name. Nebraska Recycling Council now, I think.
Yeah, Nebraska Recycling Council, yeah.
And I think they do quarterly grants. They're quarterly opportunities for grants.
Monthly.
So I applied for a grant, calculated what it would cost to put, priced out some smaller blue recycling containers and then taller blue ones for larger spaces. Applied for the grant. Also got, I don't know if you're familiar with Recycle Across America. It's an organization that has a mission of creating consistent environmental signage around the country. I could see like at Bellevue, that video, Brent, it looked like a lot of that signage was kind of inspired by Recycle Across America and how they do things. So we got these like bumper stickers that put on all the recycling bins, put one that said landfill on all the trash cans, because it creates more of a, oh, hey, if I'm throwing this, it's going into the landfill. It's just, and they're black. They're not very attractive thing, so, so we had to match a certain percentage. We had to come up with like 20% of the total cost ourselves. And then Nebraska Environmental Trust picked up the next 80% or something like that. And then for 2 years, I had to monitor its use and every 6 months, do a report. So I would send them results of our waste audit every 6 months. They came in and took photographs periodically to ensure that things were being used like they gave us the money to use them for. So it was really helpful. I don't remember the total expense for all those bins, but I mean, we're talking about a couple $1,000s, and it wasn't just money we had lying around. So it was really instrumental and helpful in rebooting our recycling program.
Yeah, and to funnel what Eric is saying on that, so apart from just the composting thing, we work with a lot of commercial organizations just to help them meet their sustainability goals with solid waste. So we do all different forms of recycling streams, even including glass. And so we funneled like the best practices into one page to make this easy, so people don't feel like they have to reinvent the wheel every time they go out on a limb with this. So Hillside.solutions/quick start, which you can find at the top of our page, is basic like the 101 on how to do this stuff. And so we have instructional videos, and like the first thing is like get the correct colors, like black is landfill, blue is recycling, green is compost. Green is not recycling, even though the city loves choosing green as their recycling color. That's wrong. And then you have to have big signs on everything. Like there's a link to Recycle Across America stuff. They're sort of like the only emerging sort of standard at this point. We have a couple other resources we made our own, which you can download for free in print, that are specific to our programs in the Omaha market. And how to do the liners the correct way, because liners can make or break a program. And then how to, separate those into the correct, dumpsters or carts, back of house, and things like that. And on it goes, what can and can't be recycled, and can and can't be, energy bagged or, compost and all that stuff, and just kind of put it all there. So lean in on that, because all those tips and tricks are there, and it just makes your life a whole lot easier. So you don't have to try to figure it out through independent research.
Something I would add that I thought of as an administrator, I mean, I know it's really easy at any time for administration there's just so many things to do, and there's so many, you got to meet curriculum standards. You've got, testing you've got to worry about. Now we've got coronavirus you've got to worry about. We've got all kinds of things we're planning about, and we've got systemic racism that we're talking about. These are all big, huge issues that take our time. And I think sometimes it's easy for us to lose sight of what our students are saying and what they want. And, I think a big impetus for us moving in this direction had been a groundswell over the years of student clubs, student groups, students coming to us saying, hey, we need to be better about this as a school. We've got a responsibility to take care of our earth. Hey, we've got to protect our resources. And, we just finally made the commitment to really listen to that and to respond to that. So I'd say as administrators, if your students are coming to you with these concerns, you've got student groups like Students for Sustainability might be active in your school. Listen to them. I mean, part of what we're doing in education is we're forming future leaders. We're shaping career choices. We are, as educators, we are people by nature who are hopeful for our future. And that's why I think many of us got on this job to begin with. And let's not